Thank you for the invitation to be here and for Nesta to host us. I just want to give a little bit of context regarding my profile apart from what you see. I think for the last 20 years, the last 16 years I've been living in Europe, so I'm not a fresh landing American here. Married to an American, German-born son and a Spanish-born daughter. So for the last 20 years I've worked in international education, working for leading American universities, European business schools, and even for the first fashion and design school that was born in Italy over 50 years ago. I currently even serve on the board of my alumni association, on the board of the directors at my alma mater, UCLA, which, by the way, is celebrating 100 years, which is very young for European standards for university. And I joined Adobe this year. I made the leap to change because I think change can happen within business organizations. We can't talk about business. We have to also affect the change that's happening there, where I engage primary and secondary schools across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. I just want to talk about 3 points, pretty much, and then we'll carry the rest with what's going on. One of it's about the context with what we're doing. Tomorrow's rapidly changing society and business landscape demands that people acquire a set of skills that responds to and helps navigate a very complex reality. In business, that means the customer's needs, largely due to the hyperconnectivity and access to information that customers are more informed, and as a result, they expect more, and they should. The education sector is not immune to this. This expectations of employers who hire students, the voice of parents, and even students are becoming more influential. We may not necessarily call them customers, but each one believes they're now a stakeholder, and I would agree that they are a relevant stakeholder that needs to be part of the conversation. We can't talk about students and parents and learners anymore. They're at the table now. When I refer to acquiring skills, I refer to students, workers, young and seasoned professionals, pretty much everyone, because no matter where they are in their student to career journey, because it's a journey that they live, and I'm glad that we talked about this cradle to grave, for it's a journey. This workforce will require transferable skills that are applicable across industries, functions, and even borders. Critical thinking, creativity, emotional intelligence, collaboration, problem solving and ideation. I had put leadership, and then a friend of mine made me rethink over the weekend while I was preparing this. He called it self-management, because the hierarchy is unlikely to be good ideas for advanced knowledge workers. And something that resonates with me, and should with all of us, is the human element to these future skills that we're talking about. As the world has become more digital and tech, and I believe these skills, as a result, I believe these skills will remain at the top of the future skills for many years to come because they're focused on people. My second point is about creativity and interdisciplinarity. With respect to creativity, it almost seems like it's living a renaissance in many ways. Its merits and contributions are finally being recognized, and the borders are blurring as the value of creativity is no longer being limited to just the creative fields of study and industries. Actually, creativity should be seen for its interdisciplinarity. As an example, I had the pleasure to be part of a leadership team that was establishing something called Fusion Point, which brought together top students and professors from business, engineering, and design universities to tackle real-world challenges, applying a design thinking curriculum that had the creativity as one of its key learning pillars. I have to tell you, seeing the engineers and the business folks have this approach and seeing how the design students were actually the ones that were highly valued and their approach and how to tackle these problems really challenged everyone, yet the learning and skills outcomes were quite impressive. And my last point is just a reflection on my overall experience. I'm experienced enough to know that thoughtful discussion and research alone will not be sufficient to affect change in our schools, curriculum, and teaching and learning outcomes. Policies will change, fundings will come and go. However, we must also take actions that enable, equip, empower, excite, and engage our students and educators and even parents. They are what will remain and who must deal with the daily realities. That will require the involvement and commitment of those of us here today, policymakers, academics, education and government leaders, and another group that I do not see represented among the invited speakers amongst myself, business. Throughout my career in education, I've always observed a transactional relationship between education and business on both sides. And I believe that going forward, we shall need to find a more creative and relational approach that is built on shared outcomes that do not always have to be mutually exclusive. I have found more common ground than differences when bridging silos in organizations I have worked for and with. I do it even now in my current organization, and have always uncovered collaborative opportunities to co-create. And in the end, for our students and teachers, we must ensure that impactful and measurable actions follow our conversations today about the challenges and possible solutions for the future. Thank you.